New Thought Media Network. We are a global broadcast network of positive music, media, and entertainment, inspiring humanity's evolution along the journey of enlightenment and creating a world of love, peace, empowerment, and prosperity for all. New Thought Media Network. Positively inspiring.
Hello, and welcome to Rockin the Love. I am Robyn Rice Olmstead.
And I am Gil William Olmstead. Good afternoon, everybody. Good evening, good morning, good night, whatever it is where you are.
We welcome you. So, if you don't know, if you're here for the first time or if you just haven't checked in a while, we are still a married couple and we live in different parts of the country most of the time, but that may be shifting. But today, as we speak, I am in Southern California, and it is warm and toasty and beautiful here.
And you will be departing immediately after this in order to make your plane, won't you?
I will be. I will be calling Uber during our show to figure it out because I just couldn't. The scheduling was way too weird. Anyway, doesn't matter. Gil is located in...
I'm located in Albuquerque, New Mexico, where it is hot and dry and has beautiful sunsets and sunrises. Hello, Brian. How you doing, buddy? Glad to see you're here. Thank you for your kind words.
And hello, Wayne. Good to see you all the way from Calgary, Canada.
Yeah.
So today,
that makes us an international broadcast, right? Officially, as long as Wayne's here.
Yep.
Yeah. I mean, we've had other people from other places, but today we know at least we're definitely doing it. Ron Williams, hi.
So good to have everybody here. So our topic today is, hit it, Gil.
Our topic today is when you don't really want to be with others.
When you don't really want to be with others. I'll bet you can figure out where this came from. Anyway, that's what we're going to be talking about in a little while. But first, let's just check in with each other. And how was your week?
My week thus far actually has been quite good. It's been pretty busy, very busy, but good. A lot of things going on, and I just keep moving along step by step.
And let me ask everyone who's out there checking in, does that seem like a standard answer nowadays, that like pretty busy? I never feel like when I was younger, I used to think like when I was waiting tables, I'd look at people who sat down with a book and had a glass of wine and ordered their dinner and leisurely relaxed as they, read and, just had time alone. And I thought, oh yeah, I want to do that one day, but I don't have time to do that.
Well, that's the debatable piece. Do we really not have time, or do we really not choose to have time? And I know that my schedule feels like it sometimes does not have time. And I think, that happens sometimes where we're not taking care of ourselves, or we just choose not to in the moment for whatever reason.
Yeah. I mean, obviously we prioritize what we do, right? And we make choices, but I'm just saying, do you all feel like time, everyone says time has sped up anyway. Do you feel like it is always a busy time in life nowadays. Is that because maybe it's because we all want to, I'm not speaking for everyone, but most of us want to accomplish a lot of things, you know?
Well, it is a fact. It's been shown in different ways that time has been speeding up in the sense that the amount of things that happen in the same period of time seems to have increased. The amount of stuff that's discovered, the amount of stuff that's created, the amount of stuff that's done has sped up, which causes us to feel like we have to keep up with more. Even just the fact that more information is transmitted, even though it's the same information, but more of it is transmitted more easily into our lives, makes us feel like there's more to listen to, more to do, more to keep up with.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Ron said, I think I need to learn to manage my time. And that's probably a truth for all of us in some level, because I think that's when we take time to, prioritize ourselves or prioritize what we need to do. And I try to do that. I do try. I do.
Yeah, I hear you. Sometimes I'm less than successful at it.
It's a slippery slope in my head because I hear my words back to you of going, try. And then I'm like, oh, shut up. Anyway. All right. So both hands on the wheel and we go forward. Thank you, Wayne. So your week. So good, busy. My week was the same. Weird though, because it was I was home alone in California, and nobody was here. It was just me and the dog, taking care of the dog because people were out of town. And I don't know. It felt a lot like hurry up and wait, Oh, wait. Oh, Ron. Yes. Okay. We'll let you know if we develop the workshop on it. We'll let you know. And that's what they say, right? People who need to learn teach.
Those who can't do teach I think is technically the term. But yes, as we generally are interested in things that we need to figure out for ourselves.
Right. So yeah, it's been a good week. I'm looking forward to getting to New Mexico. At least I was. It's the process of getting out the door is worse than getting there. But I'm looking forward to getting there. I think I'm just looking forward nowadays to just like being settled in one place for a longer period of time than 2 or 3 weeks.
Yeah.
Like it was just starting to get into a groove when we were there before we went to Mexico recently. And then all of a sudden I was back in, I don't know where I am. I have to look around at the walls and figure out what city I'm in. So I'm looking forward to that.
All right.
So it must be time. It's time for the good news. Not that there's any better news than the fact that I will be on the plane seeing my boo thing in a number of hours.
Several hours later, we're not sure when. Around 10 hours later, yes.
The joy of flying spirit.
11 hours later, actually.
Yeah, but
9 hours later. I'm sorry, I can't count. Okay.
You know me, there's no time and space, so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just bring all the cash home from the Vegas airport. Then we'll be
Gotcha.
good. Okay, got it.
Oh, yeah, Ron, back to that. It is easier for me, too, when I write out a schedule. Even if I don't stick to it, sorry, we're going backwards. I like to be able to check things off my list. So when I write things out, it's a lot easier to accomplish them and just to keep track of them. Sometimes it's hard for me to write out the schedule, though.
Yeah, getting to the end of the day and not having, quote, checked anything off feels like you didn't do anything, even though you did. But when you have things you actually check off your list, even when they're small things, you feel like, oh, okay, I did do something. Here it is. Yeah, for me anyway.
Yeah. Absolutely. All right, time for the
So
good
good.
news.
Okay, so I debated which one I should do because I knew that both of them could be stepping on your toes. But I went with the celebrity one for today. Um, and there's an article that TNT is suddenly, not suddenly, but they have lost their contract with the NBA. They were looking forward to an 11-year contract with the NBA, and it has been given out to other people. So that means that, of course, everything changes there. And Charles Barkley has been with Charles Barkley, the former basketball player, has been with TNT since when? Since forever.
Yeah, it's been a long time.
Since forever. And he has been offered all kinds of money to go to other to sign up with some of these other companies, which are now taking on the broadcasting because he's a primary broadcaster. And he's chosen not to go. He's chosen to stay with TNT for the next year because he wants to be, because they still have the contract for another year, and he wants to be sure that his colleagues are supported and their jobs remain secure. So he's hanging in there for another year. I don't know if he plans to do anything after that. Maybe he plans not to go anywhere after that. I don't know, but he certainly turned down a lot of money, in my opinion.
Yeah. Well, that I mean, and that's I think that's been a lot of our discussion this week around politics and the DNC and all the things going on in the world. Just speaking about the power and the value of kindness, you
Right.
know, and so it sounds like he made a decision based on, you know, obviously not his pocketbook, but based on, the effect that things could have on others.
Yeah,
Which is,
larger than just himself, larger than just money, clearly, And
Mhm.
I mean, it's one of those things that highlights that. People do that all the time, but it's one of those things that makes it abundantly clear that someone made that choice. And that's a powerful choice to make.
Right. It is a powerful choice to make. Well, I did not go with anything celebrity like. What I went with is the story of businesses. There's a business called Relief Paper uh, that takes dead leaves from city trees and turns them into paper for bags and office supplies and more. And uh, what they are striving to do is to keep from cutting down trees, obviously, and close that loop. And there's 6 billion, let me say that again, 6 billion with a B trees that are cut down every year for paper products. And so that means, producing everything from toilet paper to Amazon boxes to, all of the whatever best-selling novels and books and things. And the average city produces 8,000 metric tons of leaves every year. And basically what they do is, clog the sewers and things and just have to be collected and composted or burned or, or dumped in landfills or whatever. So it's a new and a different way, um, that we're making some kind of progress in that area. The company has already produced 3 million paper carrier bags to per year, um, from 5,000 metric tons of leaves in their headquarters in France.
Wow.
So
Do they give you any information on how many metric tons of leaves equals how many trees? They don't, right?
mm,
They didn't
I
mention
don't
that.
know. I don't think they did.
Curious how viable this is. It sounds really fascinating, though.
Yeah, I mean, so they're beginning to join forces with different people, landscapers, and sites across Europe, um, and making a difference.
Our producer needs his leaves woken up. I mean, raked up. I'm sorry. Um, well, I'm saddened that you didn't go with the one I thought you'd go with, and that's about the stray pup that chased the doggy daycare bus and got adopted. I thought that was the
I didn't see
top of the list for today.
Well,
All right.
You should save it for next week.
Oh, maybe.
There you have it, folks. Good things going on, not only with people, with plants, but also with animals. So just look for the good out there. Look for the good. And I think what we're going to do now is we're going to go from Wayne's comment, which says coupled people. Ugh. Ugh. If you're fed up with coupled people, we're going to take a break and just go within and remember that whoever you're looking at and whoever you're thinking, oh, is just the mirror to yourself. That's what I have to say. So come back here on New Thought Media Network, and this couple will see if we can shed some light on what do you do when you don't want to be with people. We'll see you in a minute, right back here on.
Please help us say thank you to our organizational sponsors, including the Hefferland Foundation, Affiliated New Thought Network, International New Thought Alliance, Science of Mind Archives and Library Foundation, Center for Spiritual Living Denver, Center for Spiritual Living Midtown, New Thought Philadelphia, Planned Happiness Institute, Summit Center for Spiritual Living, One Heart Retreats, Center for Spiritual Living on the Lake, Unity Kitchener, Unity Spiritual Center Ottawa, Om Center for Spiritual Living, Satya Center, Begin Within Ministries, Center for Spiritual Living North Jersey, Unity of Savannah, and the Center for Spiritual Living Seattle, as well as all of our individual donors. Thank you for being part of the New Thought Media Network. Please like, share, and subscribe. New Thought Media Network, positively inspiring.
We are back right here on Rockin the Love. So glad to be back with you all. Today we are talking about
when you don't really want to be with others.
yes. And I am Robyn Rice Olmstead.
And I'm Gil, William Olmstead. And we are married, and we're here with you today. And we invite you to like and share and do all those things with our show and with New Thought Media Network. And we thank you for being here listening to us today. So we're going to have a little chat and see where this goes.
Yes, we are.
And actually, our chat hopefully will include some of what's going on with you and your pitching in with what your thoughts are or what your solutions are or whatever that may be.
Yes. And I apologize in advance if we get in a groove and I gotta go, because I gotta go. Gotta go on my way to the Albuquerque studios. So, all right. So, what do you do when you don't want to be with people? So, Gil, this was a topic you brought up. So, why don't you start us off and you know?
Well, this is something that I struggle with from time to time, and I just don't want to deal with people at all. And it's got to do with feeling depressed and feeling those kinds of things, and I don't really know how to deal with it. What do you do? What do you do? And I think for me, I'm ready to find healthier ways to deal with it, to move myself beyond that space. And I think some of that requires more, at some level, it just requires a little more internal push to push into something that I know will be helpful for me.
Well,
I don't want to do things when I feel like this. I don't want to be, if I don't want to deal with things, I don't want to do any of that.
And I think that's real. I mean, yeah. I think we all have experienced that in some way, shape, or form. And it doesn't necessarily have to be like, oh, now I'm identifying this as depression and I don't want to, and or whatever. I think we all go into spaces where we don't want to. And I think, I was thinking about it. This has been coming up a lot for me in the last few days. And I was actually thinking we should do a show on it, on loving your why, because I know I have that conversation with you a lot about why do you need to know why, and not understanding. And I think that this goes to that. I think what I'm grappling with and learning to dance with in a different way is embracing your why. And sometimes I think I don't want to, that could be the end of the why. Like in New Thought and these spiritual worlds, we want to go, but why? And really go into, are you afraid of something? Are you worried you're not good enough to follow through in this particular situation? Or, we have all those backstories, which I'm not saying they're not valuable and they don't hold a place, but sometimes I think I don't want to is good enough.
Yeah. Sometimes what do you say? A thing is a thing. A thing is just a thing.
That's what my 7th grade science teacher, Mr. Phipps, said was, a thing is just a thing. That's what it is.
Yeah, the rest of it is a story we put on it.
Yeah.
Perhaps.
All right. Are we complete?
I think we're done. So thanks everybody for watching.
But no, to really, I think it's just interesting because we can, and we usually do dive, super deep into the whys. And I think there are times, when obviously you have these feelings and then you have to figure out how to get out of them, because sometimes I don't want to can last a whole lot longer than we want it to.
Right. Right. And what I'm kind of observing is I think it has to do, for me, it has to do with making sure that I have some space for myself in between things, because this is kind of the proverbial forcing my own space, because I just push back against everything. And so ultimately at some level it goes back to it goes back to how do we take care of ourselves? How do we honor ourselves? How do we have that calendar that we keep that has built into it the night at the movies or the whatever it is that helps us feel like we've taken care of ourselves,
Yeah, and I think it goes back to what Ron said, making a schedule or creating a list or, but making a schedule. I mean, while that on some levels, I don't know, my inner dialogue is like, why do I need to do that? My life is my life and I don't need a schedule to tell me blah, blah, blah. And, I think it's one of those things like when we're creating a workshop or even a show, and we go, okay, but we need it outlined and then we can diverge from that plan. But if we don't even set the intention for it to happen, then chances are good that it won't happen, at least in the way that we would like to create.
Well, right. When we set out the intention, it's likely that somehow we'll find a way to it, even if it looks different. But otherwise, probably it won't happen. Yeah. I wanted to comment on Brian, who is using his, I can't think of the right word, the letters to tell us what he's talking about. In his humble opinion, your why is bigger than the brain's asking why, and is bigger than the brain's pondering and judgments. So I think what you're referring to there, Brian, is your inner why. Your why are you here? Why are you alive? Why are you being who you're being? Which really comes from more from your spirit, your heart, your whatever you want to call that, versus in our head when we're trying to figure out, well, why do I have to do this, and why do I feel this way, and what's wrong with me, and whatever that stuff is. Is that accurate, I wonder?
Yeah, and then I think that we also get stuck in the shoulds.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a balance. I mean, I think there's other times when you don't want to, and you may have to, or you should, or definitely what's going to happen. I mean, like for right now, you going, I don't want to be with people, and locking yourself in your house for 2 hours or 3 hours probably isn't going to have a huge effect. But if you were to go, I don't want to, and locked yourself, away for a longer time and started not paying attention to what you needed to do, then it becomes, a different question of how do I get through things I don't want to get through. Apparently you have nailed Brian.
All right, good deal.
Yep.
Well,
in sync.
I mean, for me, it's that idea that you it's some feeling, it's some place inside where my brain or whatever decides that there's just not a point in doing it, and I don't want to spend the time dealing with other people, whatever it is. And usually those are the people closest to me that I'm most likely to have that issue with. Probably because they're the safest ones and least likely to blow back on me in the long run.
So wait, say that one more time. You lost me.
So it just doesn't feel worth interacting. I just don't want to do it. I'm not interested. I'm frustrated. I'm tired. I'm whatever I am, and I don't want to do it. And often that shows up more in the people that I'm closest to than in others.
Well, and I think also, yes, I think that's true. I mean, obviously we feel safer that way. And so we...
well, and our show's about relationship, and this kind of thing affects relationships. I mean, any relationships, whether it's really your close, intimate relationships, your family relationships, your work relationships, depending on how this shows up in you, if it shows up in you, it can have a pretty strong effect, or if it shows up in someone and how do you deal with that?
Well, and I do think that even though I said in the beginning, sometimes I think it's important to just be in the I don't want to, I do think that there is generally a reason. And I think that, like just using, this morning we had a situation where that didn't go the way either one of us would have thought. And I was trying to help get things done, and he was getting correct me if I'm wrong. He was overwhelmed by the way I was going to get it done or what was expected of him to help get it done when, it wasn't necessarily what he was trying to get done. You get what I'm saying. Regardless, even if you don't understand it, you get that it was a confusing situation. And so my point is that at some point too, I think for me, and I'm not talking about for you, but for me, like sometimes my I don't want to is because especially when I'm looking at something that someone else has done, or the way someone else has done something, and then I'm part of it, I'm like, oh, it's a lot of energy. I don't want to clean it up. I don't want my action to affect either person. I don't, whether, and this isn't necessarily true of this morning's situation, but I'm just saying, sometimes I don't know if I can do it in the right way, or if it's not going to come out the right way, or, I do think that generally there is some deeper, I don't want to say fear necessarily, concern. Does that make sense?
There's always something, whether it's at all related to what's going on or not, there's something in there, which has caused the breakdown, if you will, the space to be created for going, I just need to push back. I want to push back. I don't want to deal with, and that can affect a lot of things. And again, I think what I was thinking about was just this idea of, well, what can we do to walk through that, and look at what can we do to make that a less likely scenario in our lives. How do we make it less likely to show up? And I think even in my experience, I would say it has been much less likely to show up. But when it does, it always surprises me and makes me have to really look at things, And I think we constantly grow and we learn ways to control our calendars, ways to deal with assignments that we have in our lives and deal with additions to our lives we weren't expecting, and all this kind of stuff. We learn all those things and we start to do better and better at it as we get older, just because we have the experience, and somehow we manage to fit in there what we need to do. But if we get off the mark, it's easy to let go of sight of what we need to be able to maintain that process.
Yeah, I agree with you. And I think, as I like to give like action steps or clear first steps. And I think when I'm listening to you and I'm hearing it actually reminds me of our conversation yesterday on girls behaving metaphysically, that the difference between communication in men and women and what I think is the first step here in the I don't wanna syndrome is you have to acknowledge where you're at, and you have to acknowledge that right now you don't feel like taking action. And that means all kinds of ideas and thoughts and gremlins are going to jump in that says, oh, if you don't do it now, you're not going to get ahead. You're not going to this, you're not going to that. And yeah, you never do that. And you always do this. And this is really, and so somehow you have to be able to silence those voices or those, whatever, and really acknowledge and stand in a place that right now you don't feel like you're not going to take action, and be okay if that you get you angry or frustrated or bored, or you're dealing with depression. But I mean, it's like a thing is what it is. We have to deal with what is in the moment, and otherwise we can't move on, because then it becomes depression, because you've listened to the voices, and then you get to the place where you're like, ugh, I can't do this anyway, I'm not worthy. And it takes you down a different place, unless you can just acknowledge, hey, no, this is a moment where I need a moment. I don't know why I need a moment. I mean, maybe you are depressed, or maybe you are bored, or maybe you are tired, but you need a moment to breathe and regroup, is what I think.
Yeah. And even as you said, tired, I realized how much more I have been inclined to come home and say, I need a half an hour to take a nap before my next couple of things in the evening, kind of thing, and how much I think that's probably been a mitigating factor in being able to continue to walk through what's in my life, is to take care of myself in those moments, to go, oh, I need a moment, so it doesn't become, I don't want to be with people, I don't want to deal with you. It becomes, I just need a moment, and then I'm going to be good,
And I want to say, as we talk about relationship, how important that is, because these are the places where, if we're not communicating, if you're not communicating in your relationships, where things go astray. Because, I'm not going to lie, we haven't had this conversation. So here it is, live and personal, folks. But I mean, it is challenging sometimes when you walk through the door and you're like, I need a half hour, I need to take a nap. Because obviously I'm there going, all right, when Gil gets home, we'll this and we'll that, and I'll be with him, and this will happen, and whatever. And then when you walk through the door, you're like, no, not right now. If I choose to take it personally, then it's all bets are off, because
that's a whole nother thing.
It's a whole nother thing.
Right.
And so the question is, in our relationships, it's the beautiful art of negotiating. Can we negotiate? Can we listen? Can we hear? Can we feel what other people need?
Can we give people the space? Because what comes up for me as you say that is if it becomes about you, if you let it become about you in the sense that you take it personally, then I know my tendency is, then now I'm in this place where I'm feeling this, and now I'm being asked to show up in an even more powerful way, because you're saying, I don't feel respected, or I don't feel this. And I would tend to go even further into the I need to get away kind of thing, or
right.
Whatever, right?
Well, it becomes another to do.
Yeah, you're right. It's another to do that I felt, that I don't feel like I can do in the moment. Not that I can't do it, but I can't do it this minute.
Right.
And it's not about you. It's not about the dog. It's not about anything else. It's just, it's my mind, my heart, my whatever has been taxed at this point of the day.
Yeah. And so with that, I mean, this takes me back to Brene Brown and her marriage thing about, I got 60, I got 40, I got 30, right. Percentages, because it's like, with that, there's also your partner to not just go shut off and go, gotta go, because that's just shutting down and giving notice,
right.
As opposed to, hey, babe, where are you? How are you? What do you need? Oh, I'm at, 30. I need for when you get up for us to really be able to sit together and have 20 minutes or whatever it is that I need, and really, and this is hard, because we don't always like to talk this much, and because it's another figuring out, but I think once you exercise that muscle, then it becomes easier, and it becomes just the norm to be able to express what you need and to be okay with letting the other person have it, knowing that there's a give and take, and you're going to get your piece. So, like, you know what I mean? I know you're going to take a nap, but what I know is when you get up, I got a half hour to myself where you're not going to be looking at your phone, answering emails, returning calls, planning a class, whatever it is. So I think that's um, important.
So I think we've come up with a couple things. One is that when something like that happens, when the feeling of I just don't want to be dealing with other people or whatever, that kind of feeling comes up, the first thing is to sort of go, okay, whew, that's what I'm feeling. I don't know what this is about, but there it is,
Right.
and not try to pretend that it doesn't. Ministers and others need time alone. And others need time away from ministers. I think that's the other part of that statement there, Michael. Um, but you're absolutely true. We all need time alone, and we all have different personalities. I'm an extrovert, generally speaking. So this is a weird thing sometimes, to feel like I got to have some alone time. That doesn't even always compute in my own head the way I would think it would,
Right.
Because I'm generally resourced and powered by being with, quote, the people, whoever the people are in my life at the time, in the moment, whatever the situation is. It's good to be there, and often it is,
Right.
even when I'm feeling like that at first. Even sometimes it's a matter of gotta go. It's just, I'm feeling this right now, but breathe and take a breath and move forward. And in some ways that's what you're saying, was to acknowledge that it's there, and then determine whether there's any major steps you need to take, because maybe just giving yourself that minute to say, yeah, that's how I'm feeling, and maybe taking a moment to breathe or do a short meditation or prayer with somebody or whatever it is that would help you sort of ground, then step into whatever it is you're going to do.
Yeah, and again, I think there's the one set of rules for you on your own, and there's another set of rules for you in relationship, or even
Yeah.
in relationship to your job and to people at
Right.
your work and all of those things, to really being able to set the meeting out a week as opposed to getting it in today because they're standing there and they want to meet with you,
Right.
and finding that
Right.
that
There are
balance.
times, yes, there are times too. That's part of the taking care of for me, that's part of that idea of taking care of myself before I hit the spot where I'm feeling that way. You know what I mean? That's the how do I honor myself and my time and know, if I fill this next hour, I'm not going to have any space, and if I don't have any space, that's not going to work for me. Hello, someone called.
That's my lift.
Is your lift on its way? Oh, that's so
Um,
good. So
um,
Brian says that darn thinker is always a challenge until I realized I'm not the thinker. I'm the noticer of the thinker. Yeah, the brain is always going and always trying to figure everything out. That's absolutely true. Thank you for that reminder.
It is, and I think what happens for me sometimes is I get stuck in, if I don't do it now, then what, you know. Um, and the reality is, I generally find that out too, because on some level, I don't do what I thought I was going to do or whatever, because I can't get to that because I'm not in that space. But I want to share a quote that Robert Frost says: "The only way around is through."
Uh-huh. Yeah.
And I think that just speaks to, for me, that speaks to, we've got to go through what we're feeling,
Yes.
to get to the other side. We've got to go through it. So honoring that space is important.
Well, that is, how am I trying to say? That is a truth that applies to our entire lives, in the sense that whatever it is before us, our work as humans, I believe, as spiritual beings having a human experience, is not to figure out how to avoid what's happening, but it's to figure out how to, for lack of a better word, I'm not feeling like it's the best word, but how to deal with whatever's happening, how to allow it to be what it is, and also know the truth of what's under it, what's behind it, and all that kind of stuff that allows us to walk through it, so it doesn't become, the giant mountain that we built up in our head. It just becomes a speed bump, that kind of idea.
Yeah, and I think also, buying into society, we put such an emphasis on action, and getting it done. And, that's how all these motivators make their money. And not that there's not a place for that. Obviously there is. And when you're motivated to go out and do something too, but if you can't always have that mindset, because you'll burn yourself out. It can't apply to you all the time.
Yeah. There's a difference between being motivated to move through something and feeling like feeling that it has to be. There's no that I have to confront this in this one way, whatever that is, and this is the way through it. Sometimes, right. Sometimes the motivation kind of thing sounds like whatever it is, you just plow through it, and maybe you plow through it, but maybe you get an ATV, maybe
you what?
You climb over it with an ATV, meaning, rather than that's your way through the issue is to find something that helps you go through it rather than just banging into it. I don't know, my analogies suck, but anyway, the idea is there.
Yeah, and I think if we go back to the steps that we uncovered, I think that if you the first thing is to acknowledge it, and just to be aware that there, reason or not, you don't want to, there may be a reason there, and then we get into also the whole, I don't know, I just have a feeling, gut instincts and intuition, and so
Right.
At the end of the day, you don't want to. So just acknowledging that, and whatever comes up for you around that, and just, I've learned, as Brian said, the noticer, being the witness, watching my thoughts and really going, why, what's happening here, and witnessing, interesting how I react here. Interesting that that's my thought, and that, because it's like the times when I say to you, well, what would you tell a client? When we go outside of ourselves and think about, oh yeah, or what would you tell a friend in need in that situation? I have a friend in a situation that, I say to him all the time, if I was in the situation you're in a relationship, you would be like, hell no. Hell no, run. And he's always like, yeah, you're right. But it's like we don't always see that. So when you can stand and you can witness and you can really, without judgment, be in that place of just acknowledging where you're at, and then dealing with your why and being okay with your why, you know, and just moving into a space. And I think also in times like that, you know, it's also okay, you know, to go to back to Ron, maybe making a schedule. So like if I don't want to right now, and it's something I should know I'm going to have to do at some point, that's okay. When can I do it? You know, when can I move to that space and get there? And it doesn't even have to be finite, right? I mean, but it's at least scheduled and thought about, and I can move on from thinking, oh, I don't know when, I don't know how, I don't want to, you know. Just a few of my thoughts.
So there it is, folks. I suspect all of the wisdom we possibly can find around this topic right now. Because I think my wisdom is dried up. But I really appreciate talking about it. Thank you. I think it was great. And thank you to those who are here with us today, because I don't believe it's something that only, you know, certain people that are in a, you know, struggle with. I think we all struggle with it at some level at different times. And, you know, it's good to remember, hey, you know, think about what the stuff is around that's been going on around it in terms of how you've been living your life. If there's anything you can modify there. Also, in the moment, accept what it is and go, this is how it is. What do I need right now? What can I do right now to make it go forward? Yeah.
Absolutely. And we will see you next week together in New Mexico.
That's right. We'll be coming to you from the New Mexico studios, and we look forward to seeing you all there. I look forward to seeing you tonight.
And I'm going to leave you this quote because I like it. It's by Nelson Mandela, and it always seems impossible until it's done. So ponder that and live into the world of possibilities. And have a great week. And I will ensure you a great week if you rock the love. So do it. And we'll see you
next week. Gentlemen, thank you and have a great day.
Bye, everybody.